Hey house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 16 updates and spoilers. We have two house guests of the day. FB Hampton and Satchel 1300. So Satchel wants to know what are my favorite and least favorite seasons. Well, I have a lot of favorites, but if I had to pick one, I'll go with season 6. And my least favorite, season 9, last season. This season? I don't know. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. So last night, it was see you later beast mode. Caleb was evicted. It's been real. Okay, so moving on. When the feeds came back, the house guests were all changing and getting ready for part 1 of the final HOH competition. I'm a little surprised that they didn't start it during the episode because that's usually what they do, but I guess it just didn't work out that way. So Victoria and Derek were whispering together, and Victoria's head is spinning a little bit at this point because Cody dropped a major bomb in his power veto speech. He was all like, yeah, Derek and I are the Hitmen. We've had a final 2 since day 2, blah, blah, blah. So Victoria is asking Derek, like, what the hell is going on with you and Cody? Because this whole season, Derek has been claiming that he didn't have any other alliances. How can you say that? So Victoria's like, are you going to betray him? And Derek, like, completely dodges the question. He's like, it doesn't matter. We're playing Big Brother. Go get ready for the HOH comp. So then Derek runs to Cody and he's like, did I say Codia? I mean Cody. He runs to Cody and he's like, Victoria's mad at me! Again, she's mad at you again. Come on now. So Cody's like, why? She made it to the final 3. Like, what's there to be mad about? We dragged her all the way here. Blah, blah, blah. So, Cody and Derek take this time before the competition to basically gloat and tell Victoria about all the moves they made, and they tell her about all the different alliances that were going on throughout the game, many of which she had no idea about. So that's fun. And they were like, yeah, all of those alliances, but we were never playing you. You're like the little sister of the Hitmen. And Victoria's just like, cool. I appreciate it. So Derek and Victoria find themselves alone again. And Victoria's like, Derek, Cody is going to be really tough to beat in final 2. So you better effing take me to final 2. So, you know, I think Derek at this point has the votes against Cody, but if Cody goes ahead and wins that final HOH, you never know. He has been pulling out the stops in the last few weeks, so you never know. But Derek is like, well, I think that I can beat Cody in part 3 of the HOH competition. I've beaten him in like every mental comp that we've had so far, so I just have to make sure that I get to that part 3 and then it's done. So the feeds go off for a little bit. They come back just before 8 p.m. and it's time for part 1 of the final HOH competition. And it's endurance, of course. It's the wall. I wanted to break into Kanye West Through the Wire, but then I didn't feel like it. So, but I would say the wall. So anyway, pretend that just happened. So they've been hoping for this wall endurance competition all season. They're always like, yeah, I can't wait to be up on the wall with you guys, and we're just like chilling there for like 6 hours. So it's finally here, and it's a beautiful, amazing set. It's gorgeous. They made it look like the house guests were hang gliding over the countryside, and the background was, I think it was painted in like 3D. Like, it looked amazing the way that they did it. So they were standing on this ledge attached to the wall, and then they had their arms on a bar, which was supposed to be like their hang glider. So the wall was moving, the angle was changing. So, you know, once it gets like this, it's gonna get a lot more difficult. So they also brought on the rain, but not just rain. It was thunder and lightning, and Cody was just like, ah! So Victoria, I had high hopes for her, but she was the first to fall at 8:37 p.m. I don't know exactly what happened because she was kind of like, ah! Like she was making some really strange noises, and then she was on the ground. It almost looked like her hair extensions were all up in her eyes and they were like soaking wet. You know, those extensions can get really heavy. So I wonder if that was really her downfall. But I think she kind of had a disadvantage in this competition. Yes, she is lighter, but at the same time, she is a lot shorter than those guys. And when you have to lean over like that, she mentioned how she was on her tippies for most of the time and she slipped. So that kind of sucks. She is a lot shorter than them, so it was kind of a disadvantage in this case. But then after she fell off, Derek was asking Cody, like, should I jump off now? Should I jump off? Or are we going to stay up here all night? So they're trying to figure out who would be better at part 2 of the competition to beat Victoria. So then Derek is like, Cody, do you want this one? Do you want it? And Cody's like, well, I would enjoy the ego boost of winning the wall endurance. And Cody's just like, I don't know, Derek, should you jump off? Should you do it? Because Derek's got to make the decisions. So Derek is like, well, I'm not sure if I'm going to beat Victoria in part 2 of the HOH competition. So this is kind of like weirding Cody out. He's like, why wouldn't you beat Victoria? She's Victoria. So I'm not really clear at this point if this was Derek trying to get Cody to throw it or being really schemy and trying to set this up so that if he does throw part 2 to Victoria, Cody will be like, oh, well, he did mention that he could lose and, you know, I should have thought about that or whatever. So, I don't know. It's kind of fishy, but Derek knows that they're both going to take him. So, even if he does throw this HOH competition, it's good for him because he won't have to anger one of them when he has to make a decision. So Cody seems kind of annoyed about it though at this point. He's like, why would you lose to Victoria? So finally at 8:54, actually not finally, that did not last very long, Derek fell off the wall. I don't know if he threw it or he actually fell, but either way, it means that Cody won part 1 of the final HOH and he will be fast forwarding to part 3. So after the competition was over, Derek managed to piss off both of his allies in a matter of minutes. So Victoria's showering and she calls Derek over. She's like, psst, hey, Derek, come here. So she asks him if he threw the competition and he gets so pissed. He's like, I was up there longer than you. It's unbelievable that you would even ask me that. I'm not answering that. So is that a yes? So then, like, very shortly after, Derek and Cody are talking and passing on Derek's way to the diary room, and they're talking about Derek's odds against Victoria in part 2, and Derek says to Cody, if Victoria somehow beats me for some odd reason, I don't want you to be like, dude, what the F? So Cody's just like, what? Why, again, why would you say that? So Cody is not really pleased with that statement from Derek. So he goes off to the fire room by himself and he's just like, what was that? Scared to lose to Victoria? Is this some kind of effing joke? So he was not happy with that answer from Derek. But then, this is pretty funny. Okay, so this totally takes me back to season 10 on Keisha's birthday with Libra and the birthday cake. It was so like that. There was this awkward silence in the bathroom area while Derek and Victoria were getting whatever ready after their showers. And Cody walks in and he's like, anybody want champagne? It was so funny. And they both said no. But then anyway, Victoria and Derek were talking in the kitchen and Victoria can tell that Derek is pretty PO'd about her asking if he threw the competition. So she's like, I only asked you if you threw it because it looked like you were fine. So he's like, no, I didn't throw it. My feelings are hurt that you would even assume that. And he says that he was trying to convince Cody to drop. And Victoria's like, really? And then she freaking apologizes to Derek. She's like, well, I'm sorry if I offended you for asking you that. Blah, blah, blah. So then all three of them are chatting in the kitchen, and Cody, oh my gosh, Cody. Seriously, he needs to wake up because he missed out on something big here. So Cody is telling Victoria how Derek was loyal to her the whole time, even when she hated him. And Victoria is like, I never hated Derek. Never. Like, she said it multiple times. And Cody was just like, oh, good, because I was about to talk to you about it. Now I don't have to. Right over his head. Hello? because it was all part of a plan. He totally missed it. But anyway, Victoria and Derek were talking about the upcoming part 2 of the HOH competition, the big topic of discussion right now. So she actually asks Derek to let her win. She's like, you know you're guaranteed final 2. I would take you. Cody would take you. So why not let me win one? I'm losing, like, functions. So, Derek is like, well, what if I do that and then you lose to Cody in part 3? That would really suck for you because, like you said, Cody is taking me to the final 2. So I think you're really going to be mad at yourself if that happens. And then he's like, I know that I can beat Cody in part 3. So he was like, I don't want to ask you to throw it, but... So he leaves that open and she's like, I don't know. So we'll see what happens with that one. It wasn't really clear if they're both going to fight for it or if Victoria's going to give in and throw it, which would really suck. But anyway, Cody and Derek are talking, and they're both telling each other how there's no way that either of them would take Victoria to the end. I really don't believe it, guys. I don't believe it. Maybe Cody, but I still see Derek taking Victoria. So they have a toast to the Hitmen. Yay. And then everyone went to bed pretty early last night, around 1 a.m., and they woke up early this morning for a special Final 3 brunch on Big Brother. So the feeds were off for this. They do this pretty much every season. This is the time that they film the whole reminiscing thing for the second to last episode when they go and look back on the season. So I'm guessing this will be in tomorrow's episode. And I think we've seen the last of the HOH room. It's donezo. So that's all I have for you guys today. I'm assuming part 2 of the HOH is going to be tomorrow, but if it is today, I'll put it in the info for the spoiler later. But I do think it's going to be tomorrow. We'll see. So until then, much love.
Edit.